welcome to today's Los Blancos podcast. Today we'll be discussing the Almeria game, which is going to go on later today, and also the Copa del Rey game that happened midweek where we lost against Atleti 4-2. So, a few things to discuss. We're going to start with the Almeria game because that is obviously today. It's going to be a big game. Rotation's going to be needed. It's been a tough period for Real Madrid. We've been playing quite a few games back to back, and it looks like it's taken a toll on our team. So, Almeria bottom of the league. We'll be seeing Sergio Arribas again, who's been having a good season. But Almeria have been quite hopeless this season. To be totally honest, they've been really poor. They're bottom of the league, looking to possibly be probably the worst La Liga team in history. So that's not a great record to be holding. But they did cause Girona problems last week. It was a 0-0 draw. They dropped so Girona dropped points last week, which was good to see. And obviously that means as much as we will take them as the worst team in the league, we'll say they're the worst team in the league, they can still cause problems. They can clearly still cause us problems. Earlier in the season in the reverse fixture, it was a 3-1 result where we won eventually after going 1-0 down to a Sergio Arribas goal, if I recall correctly. And yeah, I think Almeria in that sense could cause us a little bit of problems, and especially to this team where we look a bit jaded right now, look a bit tired in a lot of the games. I think this could cause a little bit of a problem. So what do you think of Almeria as a challenge right now?
I think that normally sometimes at the bottom place teams sometimes have nothing to lose. They're going to work hard, they're going to try their best, and they never know they can pull off an upset. I remember in Jose Mourinho's season when we went on to play, I'm not too sure the team, they were last place, and they ended up and they defeated us, and we had a top team with Cristiano and Higuain and Özil and all these guys playing. So I think it was Sporting Gijon. I remember that game that was in my early stages as a Madrid fan, and they were in the relegation zone. They weren't staying up, and they just worked hard and they defeated us. They have nothing to lose, and they're going to be a tough opponent. I think this is an important game because Madrid have 4 tough La Liga games coming up. Las Palmas away, Getafe away. We all know physically Getafe can be. Las Palmas is playing good football this season. Of course, although we have to play Atletico and Girona at the Bernabeu after those 2 games, so two tough games after that. So that's 4 games. That's going to be tough, in La Liga. So I think this is an important win, because if we can pick up at least close to 10 points from out of 12, I'll be happy in the next 4 games after this one. So for me, I'm hoping that we get a good score today against Almeria. Although we have a tired squad, but I do trust our depth. I would have been happy if we would have utilized the depth in the Atletico Madrid game. Similar to how Zidane would have done it. Zidane would at least play the same back line. Then, of course, utilize the midfielders and the forwards that's normally on the bench. I think that would have been better against Atletico, but I think that's what we should do on today.
Yeah, I think we did rotate a little bit for the Atletico game, but I think it was the wrong rotations and the wrong positions that we did it for. So, I mean, let's get into some of the selections that we should make in this team. Let's start with in goal because there's been a lot of deliberation over the last few weeks over Kepa or Lunin. For me, in this game, I think Kepa should play because I think this is probably the last of many games that Kepa gets the opportunity to play. I thought Lunin, although he made that huge blunder against Atleti, he did make quite a few good saves, and I think obviously in the final he looked assured, and then in the semi-final, obviously Kepa did not look very good either. So I think for me, this is probably one of the last games Kepa's going to play. Maybe later on in the season, if there are dead rubber games, I think Kepa could play those. But I think, to be honest, this is probably one of the last games Kepa is going to play for, in my opinion. So, what are your thoughts on the goalkeeping situation right now?
Yeah, as you know, Luna should be number 1, but I like Kepa. I do believe that sometimes if he hits form, he can be a top goalkeeper in my opinion. He has good shot-stopping ability, but he needs to work on the all-round goalkeeping, mostly the claiming and handling. in my opinion, because a lot of times he likes to punch instead of hold the ball, which can put us in some issues, in my opinion. But for me, he hasn't been at his best this season. He has been okay, he hasn't been bad. I think the only game he was a bit disappointing was the Atletico Madrid game. He was injured for a while, and if he isn't in top form, then he should be number one. That's as simple as that. And of course, he's here alone. I think we should give him the priority because he is our goalkeeper. If he's doing better this time, then we'll have the rest of games. But he actually made 2 important saves before we equalized against Atletico Madrid. Which shows how confident he is to get over any mistake he makes.
Yeah. Then right back. I think this is a little bit more of a decision to make. I think for me, I think Lucas Vazquez should start this game. I think before his injury, which ruled him out for a couple of weeks, I thought he was actually really, really good. Dani Carvajal looks a bit leggy. I think he definitely looked, those misplaced passes. I think he just looked a bit fatigued. I think this is a nice game for Lucas Vazquez to start. I also want to ask you about a rumour that came up yesterday. Girona's Yan Couto, who is actually owned by Man City, but Yan Couto has been linked to Real Madrid. What do you think of him? Because I think this season he's been excellent, as many of the Girona players have been. But I think the only problem we could have with signing him permanently is the fact that he is a Man City player officially. So what are your thoughts on Yan Couto, and who do you think should start this game?
Firstly, I think Lucas should start this game. He just came back from Ancelotti, confirmed that he is, of course, ready to play, and that's important in my opinion. He needs game time. He needs to get back his form because have some really important games to start and do well, in my opinion. So of course I do believe that 100% Lucas should get this game. And Couto, I think he's young. I haven't seen that much of him as I would have thought, because he is a player who have been doing a lot of good things in La Liga about in the last couple of years. So I would love to see how he does lately. But of course, he's a good player from the first side. He did well against us last year. But I do think that we have decent options at full back, but at some point we have to sign one because was just because last year's long term. So I believe that he can be a decent signing because of how well he's done over the past 2 seasons.
Yeah, I mean, in the signing that we're going to make, it's going to have to be someone cheap. We've obviously discussed Juanlu in the last few weeks as well. I think someone like that is going to be the player that we sign. I think Couto is maybe less solid defensively. I think he's definitely more of an attacking fullback, definitely more of a wing back in that sense. But I do really like him. I think he's been really good for Girona this season, one of the best right backs in La Liga, minimum. And I think the only problem is Man City do own him. His contract is running out in 2025. Yeah, 2025. So, that might bring down the price a little bit. But, I think in terms of La Liga experience, he's been with Girona since 2020, I'd like to say. So he's been there for quite a few years, just, constantly going out on loan to Girona. I think I would really like, because I don't think Man City, to be honest, I don't think Man City bring him back. I think, something similar to what Pedro Porro did. He was on loan at Sporting from Man City. I think, to be totally honest, I don't think Man City exactly want him. So I think he will be able to sign. I think Man City are very reasonable in that sense. But it's just down to what style we want. I think Yan Couto's definitely more of an attacking fullback. So let's move on to the centre backs, because this isn't really much of a contest. There's only 2 centre backs available for this game, Rudiger and Nacho. But I do want to ask you about Eder Militao, because his recovery has been accelerated so quickly. I can't believe, originally it was, projected to be possibly in April, playing some of the final few games. He's nearly back, and it's close to the end of January. That's damn impressive from Eder Militao. I think he won't be available for the next few, that's for sure. But I think, there is a very real chance that he could be ready to go for the Champions League fixture against RB Leipzig, maybe even before that, which is really impressive for him. Would you play a centre-back duo of Antonio Rudiger and Eder Militao come the latter of the season, or would you continue with Nacho and Rudiger?
I think on the latter of the season, Militao and Rudiger could be the perfect partnership if Militao is at 100% back. To be 100%, which it seems likely because he's a young guy, and if his recovery can be so quickly, then of course it's likely that he can be 100%. But a lot of footballers, if I'm being honest, after that injury, it normally takes them a while to catch their form. That's why sometimes they would just let the season go on, start over a fresh new season, But of course, if he's ready and if he's at 100% and if he hits his form immediately, then I would love to have him back. And of course, sometimes we need Nacho at right back on occasions, But for me, I think Militao was our best centre back last year. And he actually took a lot of steps forward year by year. He's doing really well. And this year should have been another peak year for him, if I'm being honest. But of course, the injury did keep him back a bit. But of course, the injury allowed us to see the best of him, which is just a small benefit that he was out. But of course, we can really see a Militao-Rudiger partnership, in my opinion, because last year it was Militao, this year Tony has been our best centre back. So if he comes back, I believe that he will do better than Nacho, because Nacho isn't having his best of seasons. He's having a decent season, but not the top season. But he does have the opportunity to show his quality in the next few games as a starter.
Yeah, I think it's going to be hugely important for Eder Militao to come back 100% healthy as well. We need to make sure that we, that's a priority, because we can rush this very, very easily. And you don't want that to happen, because Eder Militao is the future of that centre back role for Real Madrid and probably for world football as well. So I don't think we should rush that by any means necessary. Left back, Ferland Mendy's been playing the last few games and he's been really, really good. I've been a big critic of Ferland Mendy in the past, but he's been fantastic. But I think this is a game to rest him. For me, Fran Garcia should play this game. I think it's pretty damn obvious that Fran Garcia should play this game. It's a perfect game, 20th in the league. And Maria, I think he can just be another offensive tool for us to have against this team. So what are your thoughts on the left back position?
Yeah, I think Garcia should get some minutes. He was actually trying to get back some form as of late, but of course Mendy is the starter. If I'm being honest, at the start of the season, I wanted to see Garcia be our main player on left back, but now I have to admit that Mendy should be the starter because his form is actually quite good. In my opinion, Garcia, due to how well he did last season and how okay he did in pre-season, I felt that he should have been the starter, but unfortunately, he didn't hit the ground running or in top form like I expected. So Mendy has been doing well defensively this season, and I think he should be our starter. But today, I think Garcia should be the starter. But let me just say that it's a bit disappointing for Garcia that he is now the two-choice left back. If I'm being honest, because he is a talented player, I'm not too sure of his confidence, because he was actually well defensively last year. So it's difficult to see what the issue is, if I'm being honest.
I mean, the first issue is, you're going to have to go from a lower possession team to this Real Madrid team who are going to be dominant on the ball, and you need different requirements. For Rayo, he was allowed to just go flying up the wing, especially on a counter-attacking team. This is less, more conservative in the way that they attack. Less dynamite. Just be more conservative, and I think it will take time for him to adapt to that, and I think it has taken time for him to adapt to it. I don't think he's fully adapted to it just as of yet. From going to the team that counter-attacks to the team that will be counter-attacked. So I think that's been a difficult transition for him, but I think...
But I'm going to say at the start of the season, he did have that opportunity when Ancelotti played the diamond formation. He and Carvajal played so high up the pitch. I'm not too sure if they bombing up the pitch. I think it's until when he got exposed on the widths against Atletico Madrid that Ancelotti switched up the formation a bit, and I think the formations change actually suited Mendy a bit more. So I think that was a bit the detriment of him starting, in my opinion, because he was doing well. But unfortunately, the formation switch away from the lineman to a 4-4-2 formation actually was a bit difficult for him.
Yeah. Let's talk about the midfield four, because I think this is where we need a lot of rotation. Let's start with defensive midfield, because I think we're going to talk about Tchouaméni later, so I'm going to avoid talk about Tchouaméni. Then left centre mid, I'm gonna say it's going to be Camavinga. I think Camavinga should play this game. Right centre mid. Now this is where I think Fede should be rested, because Fede has been playing a ridiculous amount of minutes. He needs to be dropped for this game. Just give him some rest. And the same goes for Jude Bellingham. I think both of these guys need rest. I think for me, Modric plays on the right centre mid, and then obviously in the attacking midfield, I would put Brahim Diaz, and then in the front two, I would go for a front two of Joselu and Rodrigo. Do you want to talk about Vini later or now? Because I think
I think we should speak about it now, because we all know that Atleti is going to make the rotations in the midfield because they're tired and they should be at their best for the next few games coming up. Guys like Valverde is tired, so Valverde shouldn't start this game. For me, I think we can win this game without Valverde. We should start with Tchouaméni, because even Modric should start this game sometimes. I won't even have a Ciudad Gula starts. We have a lot of options for the midfield position. So in my opinion, the midfield will sort itself out. I think Ancelotti is clever enough to realize that we don't need to start the tiring players like Valverde, in my opinion. But for me, one of Sergio Vinicius should start this game. I think whoever is the one who feels fitter and feels fresher. But with Vinicius, I'm happy to start this, because Vinicius is a player I have a lot of faith in a lot. And he has developed a lot as a footballer, and he has become more effective and has grown a lot, in my opinion. Since 2021, he's a player I have a lot of faith in. He's a player I'm always supporting, and he's one of my favorite players in the world right now, if I'm being honest. Exciting player to look at. But I have to admit, I'm not talking about the antics with Simone or the fans, stuff like that. It's football, and I think that if you're a football fan and that upsets you, I think that's a bit disappointing of you to be a football fan and letting something like that upset you. But as a Madrid fan looking at the games, sometimes it's a bit frustrating when he loses the ball a lot, because he is a player who has gotten a lot better since 2021. And still be making those choices sometimes on the ball. It's a bit frustrating sometimes. And I saw a moment where he lost the ball, and Toni Kroos just flung his hands up, because it was like maybe the fourth time within like 3 minutes or 2 minutes of it was like maybe 4 times within a short period of time. And it was disappointing, because it's close to the end of the game. Sometimes you need to be a bit more conservative. I feel like it's not like he knows, it's not like he doesn't know the best option. Maybe sometimes he still tries to go on his own, even when he knows the best option is to reach the ball. And that's the frustrating thing, because it's not like it's 2020 when it's 2024, and he has gotten so much better, and he knows the best option, but sometimes he ignores the best option, and that's a bit disappointing, in my opinion. And that's the only disappointing thing. I'm not upset with the fact that he tried to win the ball defensively and didn't defend Griezmann properly, because that's not good defending, in my opinion. What he did for the Griezmann goal, he should have come in a bit more inside, because he is faster than Griezmann, and let Griezmann face him one-on-one to at least delay a bit and force him back out. It's similar to the goal that Salah scored against Manchester United when Dan James chased him down and just chased him from behind instead of going around him to win the ball. It's something like that. He should have known just to maybe run back first, get ahead of him, and let him face you one-on-one so that he can go back. The defending was poor, but I'm not upset about that, because at least he made the effort. I don't think he made 100% effort to win it, but that's what I'm least upset about. I'm most upset about the fact that his choices and his decision-making wasn't at his best. Because he knows what he has to do, because he has done the right thing so many times over the last 2 years. It's worked out for us. I'm not too sure what's going on this season. And if I'm being honest, I think if it was any other coach in the world other than Ancelotti, I think he would have been the one substituted and not Rodrigo, in my opinion. I'm not saying anything negative about him, but it's just the truth. Zidane would have substituted him. I think Klopp or Guardiola, I'm not saying that these are the coaches from Madrid, I'm just saying that he was lucky that Ancelotti has so much faith in him, even when he's having a bad game. And kudos to him as well, because he was involved in the whole goal. He made a good pass. That was a really good pass to Bellingham. He held it all long enough and released it really well. Through two defenders, good execution, but other than that, he had a tough game, in my opinion, and he could have made better choices.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good place to transition to the Atleti game because, I mean, it was really frustrating to watch that game because, just 4 days before that, Vinicius had probably his best game in a Real Madrid shirt with the hat-trick over Barcelona. And then 4 days later, he proceeds to have his worst game for Real Madrid equally. I think it was just... The turnovers were poor. I think he kept trying the same thing again, trying to beat the right back, trying to beat it, whether it was Molina, Llorente, whoever it was at right back. He tried the same move, it didn't work. And, I like you said, I wasn't mad about the goal. I think, to be totally honest, he isn't a defender. He hasn't got those defensive instincts. I think I was more mad at the other guys, the other defenders not coming over to help him. I think that they should have come to close Griezmann down, because I just didn't think in any world Vini would have tackled Griezmann in that situation. He hasn't got defensive instincts to do so. But it was just, he tried the same thing over and over again. It didn't work. I think in this game, his IQ, his game knowledge was really, really poor. I think he was a hindrance to the team. He was, you've got to have 11 players on the same page. And I think Vinicius was on a different page from the rest of the team. I think defensively we weren't great, and I think that was symbolised by the fact we conceded 4 goals over the 120 minutes. But I think Vini just wasn't on the same page as the rest of the team. I think, he was a hindrance to the team because he was trying different things, whereas the team would have preferred to have him, retaining the ball. And I think, in past seasons, that's been great for us. That's been the reason we've won so many games, is because of Vinicius' individuality. But when we're playing against an opponent like Atletico Madrid, and Atleti have not been good defensively this year. Let's get this very, very right. Atleti have been poor. They've held 4 to Girona. They've held 4 to they held 3 to Getafe. They held 3 to Valencia. They've conceded a hell of a lot of goals this year. They've been really, really bad defensively, and yet we looked like we didn't have any ideas. Vini tried the same thing over and over again, but Bellingham had one of his best games in a Real Madrid shirt without scoring a goal, and I think it was just not. Vini needed to do something else, and I think, like you said, I think if there was any other coach, I think Vini would have been subbed off, and I think rightly so as well, because I think Rodrigo, up until that point, Rodrigo wasn't particularly fantastic either, but I think Rodrigo had offered us something. He hit the crossbar, and I think I was so annoyed when he hit the crossbar, because I was like, that was so close to going in. And I just think, to be totally honest, it was just one of those games where nothing went right for Real Madrid and everything went right for Atleti. I think Ancelotti made the mistake with not starting Tchouaméni. I just don't know how you made that mistake twice against Atleti at the Civitas Metropolitano. You can make that mistake once, fine, but learn from it. And I think Ancelotti made the same mistake twice. We looked really defensively in shock when Tchouaméni didn't start. And I think Griezmann had one of his best games with that goal. I think Griezmann was fantastic. Same with Morata. Morata's been really good this season. And I think overall, we should have been beating this Atleti team. There's no excuse. I think we're better defensively. We're better than offensively as well than Atleti. But that leads to the second loss of the season. And it is a Copa del Rey loss once again. It feels like deja vu. Once again, we're talking about Copa del Rey loss. Four in the last 35 years, I believe it is. 4 Copa del Rey wins. It just feels like every year there's just some cock up that we do in the Copa del Rey, which leads to us losing. And I think we just can't win this competition for some reason when we absolutely need to. It looks like, 3 days ago we were talking about potential treble winners, and suddenly we're back to the Copa del Rey loss. So yeah, what are your thoughts on the overall game?
I think the effort was okay, but the effort should not be something we should be saying a lot. I think, in my opinion, I think the chairman, he just came back from an injury and trying to not force him to play too many games, but Vinicius played back-to-back games, so I don't think that should be an excuse. If that was the excuse he wanted to utilize, in my opinion. But I think Ancelotti, I think that Chouameni, when he came on, wasn't really that good, in my opinion. He came on, he lacked intensity.
He's not an impact sub, is he? Though he's not really the sub.
I don't think he should be a player coming on to impact the game, especially if you're chasing the game, unless you're putting him to play centre back. Which was useful because he played centre back at the end. So I guess I can understand his substitution, because we need defensive players on the pitch sometimes, even if you're chasing a game. But he's not a player you're going to throw on if you need like an attack in him back. That's a fact. I'm not too sure. I think it was against Manchester City or another team last year where we bet one. And I was a bit disappointed because he's not like the Camavinga to change the situation in midfield. I think now he should be a starter, and the substitute should be like Camavinga, Diaz. These guys can change the games. That's why sometimes even if Virgil goes on the bench, I'm like, okay, fine. He can come on and he can be that. In those big games, I guess I can see it. But with Chouameni, these guys are the guys who needs to hold the game and keep the game stable, keep us in the game, or even give us a platform, before we introduce those other guys, in my opinion. But I think in those big games you have to start Chouameni because of that, similar to why we started Kroos and Modric with Casemiro in the 21-22 season when we won the Champions League. I think it's something similar to that. We need the defensive steel of him, in those important matches, especially when teams are physical. So I'm not upset with the loss or the performance. Some individual performances were disappointing, like with Vinicius, like we mentioned. I think Diaz was good when he came on. Tony Kroos was good, in my opinion. He was still better goal. So it's of course disappointing that we have the best cup team in Spain and we can't win this competition for whatever reason. It's so difficult to win. I'm not too sure why. But I do think that we can do better next year with more squad depth. I think each Copa del Rey is a Super Cup loss. A couple of years back has always been down to the fact that we don't pick the best starting 11 for these games. So I'm not saying that Diaz should start over Vinicius. I'm not saying that certain players it should be a starter, but in these cup games when you need fresh legs to win, against hungry teams, I think you need to start an 11 that's best suited. I don't think that we will.
Yeah, and it's always the same mess up from Real Madrid. I think it's happened once again. 2 years ago, who was it against we lost to in that season? I think it was Athletic Club. Yeah.
Yes, I think so.
And then the season before it was Alcoyano.
Yeah, I think that's when Vinicius and Rodrigo came back from Brazil and started.
Yeah.
The match.
Yeah. I remember. Yeah.
You need to start with the correct players to win these matches. The fit players who are going to give you the work ethic, because the other teams they have a high chance of winning the competition. Atletico Madrid, Bilbao, Sociedad, those are the teams that even Valencia, Sevilla, these teams have a high chance of winning the cup, because Madrid and Barcelona sometimes can lose. It's a one-off now, until the semi-finals. So we have a high chance of winning. So they're going to give 100%. So if we can't feel a team that's going to give 100%, and that's not up for it, then we're going to lose. And it showed in the last few times we were eliminated. Like I said, these guys are not the starters if we have a big game against City, but these guys are the starters for an important cup game, and that's my opinion. And it's a bit disappointing that sometimes we failed to fulfill that when we simply can't. So that's a bit disappointing in my opinion.
Yeah, and yeah, that is it for this year for the Copa del Rey. Like I said, we could have won the treble. This was very achievable. La Liga's very much in our sights. We've won the Super Copa already. Champions League, I'm not saying we're the favourites, but it is the weakest that the Champions League has been in quite a few years. Certainly in my lifetime, I don't think there has been a weaker Champions League, because it looks like Man City are probably the favourites, but they have their weaknesses. Arsenal have their weaknesses. Bayern have their weaknesses. None of these teams are exactly stellar European competition, and it's probably the weakest Champions League this century. So it's definitely winnable, and I think we could have won the treble this year, but another cock up in the Copa del Rey, and that is it for this year. So Almeria. Yeah, have we got anything else to say? Well, one other thing. Do you think this is a game for Arda Güler to start? Because bottom of the table, I don't think Almeria are very well known to play tough, tough tackling football. I think this could possibly be a game that Arda Güler starts. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'll be excited to see him play. Unfortunately, I can't look at the game today, but I would have to come back home and see that we have won the match. With Güler, I think this is a good opportunity. He didn't play the last two games against Barca and Atletico Madrid, and I'd love to see him against Madrid to maybe tap them out later in the game. But of course, we needed the substitution for Camavinga at left back, so understandably so. But in my opinion, I would love to see Güler and Diaz start this game. Like I said earlier, they can definitely have us open them out early on. So I'm looking forward to see what happens in that game. I hope we can do well. I hope that we can win. I think it's important that we keep trying our best, to get these guys in form for the latter stages of the season. Güler and Diaz, all those bench players, they need to be in form. So when the Champions League does start, you need them for those big matches. You can trust them to make an impact. I understand maybe why Ancelotti didn't have Güler on, because the game against Argentina in the Cup, for the national team, maybe shouldn't be enough for him to be over Diaz or trusted to such an important game. But these are the games now where you can say, okay, let's see what they can do. So hopefully he can do well now.
Yeah. So that is it for today. We've obviously gone through the Almeria preview, and we've talked about the Atleti game in a little bit of depth. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Bye bye. Thank you.